let's talk about heat pumps while wearing cardigans. Come on, let's talk about heat pumps while we're wearing cardigans. Heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Heat Pumps and Cardigans. I'm Joe Wachunas. Really excited to be with you from New Buildings Institute. Here we're doing in-depth conversations with folks making some of the most exciting heat pumps out there, all while wearing some cozy cardigans. This show is a collaboration between the Advanced Water Heating Initiative and Clean Technica. And I'm here with Renee Turnbaugh from LG. We're both wearing some nice cardigans. Renee, love yours. It's looking really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Renee's here to talk about LG and their array of heat pump products. LG, of course, is a big company that we all know. They make lots of stuff from TVs to fridges to washing machines to. So today we're going to be talking about their heat pump line that they've been making for a while. Renee will give us a little bit of that history. And we're going to drill in especially to their fancy schmancy heat pump water heater that has some really interesting innovations and that I'm quite excited about. So we'll do a deep dive with both topics with my guest, Renee. And let me just introduce her quickly and then we'll dive into it. Renee is the Director of Heating and Sales for LG Electronic North America. She's a member of the National Home Builders Association, the Texas Home Builders Association, and the Greater Houston Builders Association. And she lives in the Houston area with her husband, Don, and their son and daughter. So Renee, great to have you on Heat Pumps and Cardigans. Thanks so much for being here. And maybe as a first question, give us a little overview. LG makes so many products. Give us a little overview on the many heat pump offerings that LG has across water heating and space heating.
Well, thanks, Joe. Thanks for inviting me. Heat Pumps and Cardigans. I love the title. I love that we're wearing our cardigan. So let's talk a little bit about it. I don't know if you know this, but LG is headquartered in South Korea, and they first started selling in the United States in 1958. And guess what they started selling? Any ideas?
Heat pumps?
No, but that's a really good one. No, they started selling face creams. And the gentleman who started this for LG was selling face cream out of the trunk of his car, going door to door selling. The World War broke out, and he decided that everyone was listening to their radio so intently that they needed to bring a different product to the States. And so they started offering electronics, and that's where we got started. Now, as you said, we make washing machines, dryers, we make TVs, we make refrigerators, we make a heat pump water heater, we make heat pump air conditioning. So we're a huge company now for all homes as well as businesses. In 1982, LG developed its very first inverter heat pump air conditioner, and they began selling in the US in 2011. So by some standards, we're the new kids on the block.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the 82 seems quite like a long time ago in the heat pump timeline of things, but yeah. So 2011, LG brings over its heat pumps, and those are the air source heat pumps that heat buildings, right?
Right.
But you all have a lot of different types of heat pumps, right?
Yes.
It's not just one product. You know, we're used to maybe ductless heat pumps on the walls, but there's a lot of different types of heat pumps that come in a lot of little flavors. So why don't you walk us through a little bit on the different types of heat pumps that LG carries?
I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
Happy to do it. Look, now we're wearing a cardigan. Look at that.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
There we go. There's our LG cardigan on our water heater. This is my contact information in case anyone needs it, but you can get it later as well. Okay, so we have from a heating offering, all these things fall under kind of my department. We have the monoblock or air to water heat pump product. It's an all-in-one design. It's very compact. It looks a little bit like your HVAC system that you would see on the side of your home or a building. But it's provide chilling as well as hot water for residential and commercial applications. It has an inverter technology, and inverter is really what we're talking about because LG invented the inverter heat pump. But this air to water product offers temp control, energy savings, and year-round comfort while giving homeowners an opportunity to reduce their carbon footprint. So it's very compact and it's nice looking all in one. It also connects to controls using a ThinQ app, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. But LG ThinQ app is what we use to control all of our products, from appliances to HVAC to water heating and everything in between. So it does have that kind of connectivity.
And maybe, while we're on the monoblock, talk to me a little bit about what kind of buildings, or, are we talking homes? Are we talking bigger commercial buildings? What kind of building would use a monoblock system?
So that's a really good question. Monoblock is a water pipe only connection with refrigerant piping integrated within it, similar to, like I said, a ductless. So this would be good for residential uses to replace boilers up in the Northeast. It would be great for maybe a small duplex or a small restaurant, that sort of thing. I wouldn't say this is commercial. I think our next product, the Hydro Kit, would be more of a commercial application, but this really works well for home, small commercial, small multifamily, that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's key. We hear a lot that electrifying and decarbonizing the boilers can be a big challenge, and we know that's a lot in the Northeast. There's lots of boilers out there. So this is a product especially for homes with boilers.
Yes, and again, with the boilers, you have to generally buy some sort of a product, right? Like propane or oil or something like that. And this, you don't have to. It's literally a water line with refrigerant, similar to the ductless. So it's just going to be your help me. What's the copper tubing? Just for tubing. So very, very simple installation.
Great. Okay, cool. Okay, that's super helpful, and really needed product. Great. Let's go on to the Hydro Kit.
So the Hydro Kit's going to be more of a commercial product, and it uses refrigerant to heat the water. Same sort of mentality as a chiller or heating water. The Hydro Kit is preheating domestic water stored in an indirect tank. So the picture that you see here on the screen is going to be the external component. So this can sit outside. And then there's going to be a domestic hot water storage tank, or you can hook up the heat pump water heater to it. It can be great to use for snow melt or in-floor radiant type heating. It's more single phase or three-phase. So if you wanted to use it as heat recovery, like a variable refrigerant flow type system, it can heat and cool your home as well as provide the potable hot water for you. Again, less energy consumption than like a conventional boiler would use, or geothermal or something like that. It eliminates the need for gas connections or oil tanks or anything like that. These can also be daisy chained together. Because you were going to ask that, weren't you, for a commercial environment?
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Yeah, so these can be daisy chained together. You can have 3 to 5 of these. So that would be good for like a multifamily or a commercial building, a strip mall, things like that.
Okay, great. Does it, when you were saying that it preheats the domestic water, do you always have to pair it with another technology to fully heat the water, or can it stand on its own, the Hydro Kit?
It can absolutely stand on its own, and you can have different controllers. And then again, you can also connect it to your heating and cooling system. So you could connect this and it could heat and cool the air in your home just like it can water. So you would have a traditional setup with venting in your home. You'd run that copper tubing and refrigerant to the different junction boxes, right? And then that would determine if you're going to heat or cool the room, or you're going to use it for domestic hot water. If you're going to have a storage tank connected to it, you could have a heat pump water heater connected to it. There's tons and tons of options. And we have a great engineering team who could help you to pipe that together and figure out how you best want to use it.
Okay, interesting. So this could be, the Hydro Kit could be a combi air source heat pump and heat pump water heater together.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. Okay, great. And then, so we'll talk about that's on the right is LG's really cool looking heat pump water heater. We'll talk about that in a second. But tell me a little bit about, I know there's LG, of course, has ductless heat pumps and other heat pumps. Anything you want to say on those to round out LG's heat pump offerings?
So as I mentioned earlier, LG's been making the inverter heat pump compressor for greater than 15 years. We're one of the largest manufacturers of inverter heat pump compressors in the world. We sell to all kinds of companies that technology. And so what's great about LG is we make all of our own parts and pieces. So we've taken the technology of that heat pump and we put it into all of these products, including our outdoor ductless component, which is used for HVAC. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got the same sort of technology in our water heater. We even have inverter compressors in our refrigerator. So we use the technology across all of our different appliances. But what's great about that is because it's inverter, it's very, very quiet. So you can stand in front of any of our components, even our HVAC systems, and still have a complete conversation, Joe, and not hear the unit running. You can do it in a variety of spaces, small apartments, single rooms, home offices, that sort of thing. It uses R32 refrigerant. So again, it helps with the carbon footprint and it really minimizes the environmental impact that you might have.
Okay, great. Yeah, that R32 has that lower global warming potential than some of the other refrigerants. And usually your ductless heat pumps and your other heat pump systems use R32.
Correct. And we're one of the few ductless HVAC systems that goes down to a heating operation of minus 13.
Nice.
Most of our competitors can't get that cold. So if you're in the Northeast climates and you have a ductless unit sitting outside running your heating and cooling in your home, it can go down to minus 13. So you're still going to have heating in your home at that kind of temperature. So that's really unusual because it's got that compact A coil design. It's going to save a lot of space. And nowadays, we're building more vertical with smaller lots for homes. And so these units really make a lot of sense there on the HVAC side of the business.
Cool. Okay. So they're cold climate heat pumps. Yeah, they got that side discharge, so they're vertical, don't take up a lot of space. Cool. Great. All right. Well, that's that. Thanks for that. Thanks for walking us through some of these many and yeah, our inverter keeps coming up, and that's going to come up in our water heater conversation too. But I think it's time for us to dive into that really cool looking heat pump water heater. Okay, LG has talk to us a little bit about the history. When did you come out with this heat pump water heater? And maybe my first question is what's maybe most first striking about LG's heat pump water heater is it doesn't look like the other water heaters. It looks really cool. And water heaters are not a technology that people usually make look really cool. So tell us about the history and why LG decided to make a really nice looking heat pump water heater.
Okay, so this one isn't wearing its cardigan, but I will say that this, I think, is the sexiest hot water heater on the market. This water heater was made about 10 years ago for the European market. And, any of us who've traveled overseas, we have seen that the hot water heater, the boiler, whatever kind of units that they're using, all of those parts and pieces, even from a toilet, are all visible to us, right? Here in the States, we hide all of these things. We put them in a closet or the basement or the attic. But in Europe, as well as in Asia, a lot of these components sit out in the middle of the kitchen, for example. This water heater can easily sit in the kitchen. It looks as attractive as your refrigerator. So they made it with that in mind in the European market. It's important to note that, this is sold in Europe, it's sold in Canada, it's sold in the US. So it's sold, across the world. And I really think it's a good looking product for that reason, because you can stand in front of it and it's not ugly, right?
Yep. Yeah, and for the portion of homes that have their water heater, within the building envelope, that's a nice feature. I proudly, we have a couple of heat pump water heaters, and I proudly show it off all the time. But it's in our utility closet, and it's not the most beautiful looking space. But with an LG, you could proudly show it off and show some really cool high tech there. Yeah. Cool.
And
great. And
go ahead. All of our certifications. So, this is tier 3 or 4, depending on which model you get in NEA standards. It's JA13 compliant. It's obviously Energy Star and AHRI certified. And we're the quietest product on the market right now, Joe, at 42 dBAs. And that's really important too, because a lot of us now have got vinyl flooring, right? Or we have, some sort of a man-made flooring system, that water heaters can really reverberate and make a lot of noise. So if this is sitting in the utility room, or let's say it's sitting in maybe a pantry, it literally could make noise just reverberating on your wood floor or your vinyl planks. So I think that that's really important too, that it's a very quiet product.
That's key. Yeah, I mean, we do hear that in some cases, consumers have been, especially with earlier models, not used to the noise that comes off of a heat pump water, the sound that comes off of a heat pump water heater, and the quieter, I think, the better. That's been the understanding from the industry. So that's great. We'll get into that more too because we're going to have to do a deep dive on that inverter. But before we go there, tell us about first tell us about what type of models are available for LG, and what sizes can people get?
Okay. So we have two models. We have a 58-gallon and we have an 80-gallon. Some of our competitors have got a 40, a 50, a 65, and an 80. We only have the two models. We have the 58 and the 80. And the reason for that, Joe, is that our 58-gallon product produces 76 gallons of hot water in the first hour. So we actually perform like a 65-gallon product, even though we're only 58 gallons. And then our 80-gallon product produces 94 gallons in the first hour. And the reason for that is, number one, we have the inverter compressor. So that heat pump technology that's part of that inverter helps it to be more energy efficient. And then we also have two 5,000-watt heating elements. So that allows us to basically turbo heat that water so we can have a better outsource of 76 or 94 gallons. And then it shows here that we have the 42 or the 45 dBA as far as the two different models. So we just have two, easy to keep track of. And then we also have different models in those sizes. So if you need demand response because you live somewhere where to get the utility rebates, you must have demand response capabilities, we have that. And then we have the L model in both the 58 and 80, and that gives you the demand response plus leak protection. I told you earlier that we make all of our own parts and pieces. That leak detection that we have on our water heaters, Joe, is the same thing that we use in our dishwashers. It's a sensor in the base of the unit, and it lets you know if it's leaking. So not only will it emit a sound in the control panel, but it'll also send you a notice on your ThinQ app, which is generally on your cell phone, and that will let you know that the water heater might be leaking. So again, that's kind of how we bridge the gap between our different products.
That's nice to be able to take a feature of your dishwasher and apply it to the water heater. That's great. Cool. Okay. Well, that's super helpful. We got the two sizes, 58 and 80. They put out a lot of hot water in that first hour, 76 gallons and 94 gallons. I think we've been perfect. Yeah, I think this is great. We've been talking about this inverter technology a lot, and maybe we have to do just a little bit of background for folks. There seems to be, there's single stage heat pumps, two stage, right? And talk to us about the difference between those and this inverter technology, which is key to the LG models we've been hearing.
So one thing I do want to point out before we talk about that is the fact that a lot of people, and I'm sure you're hosting this podcast, so I'm sure you're like a lot of people, you realize that some people might be kind of scared of this new technology. But it's kind of funny, the way I always like to describe it, if you look at this picture here on the right, you'll see that this is really just a traditional electric water heater. It has two heating elements. It has the anode rod to save if you have some hard water issues. And then that portion is where the compressor and the motor are. That's really the only thing that makes it different than a traditional electric water heater. And I think that's important to note. You'll see too that we have a washable filter there. We took that, that's the same style of filter that we have in our dryers. You could actually take it off and wash it and rinse it out because a lot of these are put in the garages, maybe the basement, maybe the attic, and the air can get kind of dirty. And so you can take your filter out and wash it. But I did want to just point that out because I think people think that this is a really fancy water heater, and really it's not. It's simple technology, and we've just added a half-ton BTU HVAC system to the top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Important
I love
point.
this picture. So this is what you were talking about. I'm one of those picture people. Are you, Joe?
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
This is good.
So this picture kind of tells you the difference between a fixed speed compressor versus the inverter, which is variable speed. So think of this as running and then stopping, and then running and then stopping, and running and stopping. That's what a fixed speed is. Think about, I don't know why, but here in the States, we install our air conditioning right outside of our bedroom windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the night, when you're laying there in bed, you will hear that big whoosh of the HVAC system coming on, and then you'll hear a click, click, and it shuts down. And then you'll hear the whoosh, and it'll start back up again. That is a fixed speed compressor. It starts and it stops. It starts and it stops. And then if we look at this picture of what an inverter or a variable speed compressor is, it ramps up and then it just kind of keeps going at a steady pace, right? I'm not a runner, but some people say that it's kind of like once you first start running, you kind of get into this mode of being able to just go and go and go. And that's how this compressor works. It ramps up and then it just kind of goes at a steady pace, which is why it's so quiet and why it is very energy efficient. So I kind of like those pictures. They're
That's
simple,
super
but I
helpful.
think they make sense.
Yeah, it does seem like the fixed compressors, it's kind of like old technology, on really high or off, and it's coming on and off. But the variable speed is that constant. It's energy efficient, it's more comfortable. Yeah, totally hear that. In water heaters, in heat pump water heaters, it seems like most of the products out there are these fixed speed compressors, but you all have taken your variable speed from your ductless heat pumps and other heat pump technology, and you put it into your water heater. Why did y'all talk to us about that decision making? Why did you go for that variable speed compressor?
Well, I think that this kind of shows why, and it really has to do with the technology, obviously, of the energy savings and the benefit of using it. I mean, it is, according to the EPA, 20% of your home's energy comes from your water heater. So 20% of what you spend on energy comes from water heating. 40% comes from HVAC. And so we wanted to use the technology in both of the HVAC as well as our water heating, really just to kind of allow for more energy efficiency. Do you know that a traditional electric water heater gives you a uniform energy factor of about 0.93? So for every dollar you spend, you get 93 cents in electricity or water usage that's being heated. With a heat pump, ours, for example, is 3.93. So for every dollar you spend on electricity, you get almost $4 of electricity heating that water. So, that's the reason why this technology makes sense. Whether it's LG's heat pump or somebody else's, the energy efficiency of this product and the carbon footprint cut is just phenomenal. It's amazing.
Yeah, that 3.93 is amazing. Yeah, 4 times more efficient than that electric water heater. But and just to drill in on that variable speed, you get other benefits too, right? By going for the variable speed, like for example, LG's heat pump water heater can operate at lower temperatures than other heat pump water heaters, right? And that has to do with the variable speed compressor.
Right. Kind of like I told you earlier, our ductless goes down to minus 13. Our heat pump water heater goes to about 35. And so that's a huge help if you're putting this in your garage or your basement. So if you're installing this in some other parts of the country and it gets very, very cold there, it can go to 35 degrees as far as that goes. And if the heat pump is not the only thing working, let's say it goes below 35 degrees, then we can kick on the heating elements, and that helps us out there. So the ambient air temperatures can be anywhere from 23 to 120 degrees. So the outside air around the water heater can be as low as 23 degrees. But 35 degrees is really optimal as far as that goes.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So 35 is kind of your optimal temperature, but it can keep functioning down to 23
Yeah.
and go all the way up to 120. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Maybe just to clarify that, it can operate with water temperatures down to 35 degrees, but the air temperatures, it can go all the way down to 23 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. Right. So again, I live in Houston, so I put all of my HVAC and water heating products up in the attic, like that, just so you know. And everything up there gets very, very hot. So we can have an ambient temperature of 23 degrees all the way up to 120. So that's why my heat pump can still work in my attic. But let's say where you are, you could put it in your basement and the ambient temperature could be 23 degrees and you're still going to get heat pump plus the electric heat for the best output. Some of my competitors don't go down to an ambient temperature of that cold, which means that you don't get to use the heat pump portion. All you use is the electric elements, and that costs you more electricity. And the whole point is to have energy efficiency and use less electricity, right?
Yeah. That's super. That's really helpful to know. In water heating, this is it's not the same as we should just say it's not the same as your air source heat pump, which is located outside and could get really cold out there. Usually, water heaters are in a spot that don't where pipes won't freeze, so you're not going to get terribly cold. But we have seen sometimes if your water heater's in your garage or that basement gets really cold, then having that extra ability to go a little bit lower can really come into be useful. So
that's when your water heater needs a cardigan, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. And then we get the cardigans out and we drape your water heater with that cardigan. No, great. Okay, well, thanks for that dive into variable speed water heaters. So maybe let's dive into a little bit about the smart connected features of the LG water heaters. We're seeing this. A lot of manufacturers have different apps. Why, as a consumer, do I want my water heater to be smart? And what does LG offer that is unique and helpful to the average consumer?
So I just put it on this so you could see it real quick. So this is what we call our ThinQ app. And I think I mentioned earlier, all of our products, whether it's a washing machine, a refrigerator, a microwave, or in this case, the heat pump water heater, even our HVAC systems, they all have a little QR code. And you would scan that QR code to download the ThinQ app on your phone. Now, that allows you to control anything that's LG. So, for example, my ThinQ app has got my washer and dryer on it. It has my TVs. It has my water heater. It has all these different components on it. And I can, at any time, look at it and see what the energy efficiency is, how much hot water I'm using, that sort of thing. The other cool thing, remember I mentioned that we had that leak detection and it will send you a notification on this particular app. Well, if your app is tied to your LG TV, let's just say, it'll also send the notification to your TV. So you could be sitting there watching your favorite sports team and up could pop some sort of a notification. Your dryer is done. Your water heater is in vacation mode, whatever that is. And so that, I think, is very, very cool in that all of our appliances connect to it. And we're one of the only manufacturers who offer this many types of appliances all on one app.
Okay, so you could have a whole ecosystem of LG products, and then they all connect to that app. Okay,
that's right.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think I had another question for you on the Consumer Reports just came out with their first kind of rankings of heat pump water heaters. LG scored great. They do list prices there, and LG's looked a little more expensive than some of the other models on the market. So talk to us about where LG is just generally in price, and how does that compare to other heat pump water heaters?
That's a really good point. I think, though, one of the things that's important to note is that our 58 gallon I mentioned earlier gives you 76 gallons in the first hour. So really, even though you may be looking at that price point as being a little bit higher, we are really priced to compare to a 65 gallon water heater. even though we're 58 gallons. Because remember, I told you we only have the two models. We have 58 and we have an 80. And our 58 produces like a 65-gallon wood. So it actually is priced closer to my competitor's 65-gallon product. So it may seem a little bit higher, but I think for the output and the size, it really is your best value bet.
Okay, got it. So it's got that 58 produces more, and so you can treat it like a larger water heater. And
and too, that they always give you list price. And so you're not going to pay that much from your contractor, right? The list price is always the scary price. And we are not sold through retailers. We are not sold through big box stores. So you can only get us at your local contractor.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of drill into that. That's been a really interesting approach that LG's taken. As heat pump water heaters are becoming more common product and really accelerating, there have been some challenges getting plumbers interested in heat pump water heaters. And so some folks are thinking, well, maybe HVAC contractors who are used to heat pumps would also install heat pump water heaters. So talk to us a little bit about LG's approach that, you have this big heat pump network, and distribution network, with your air source heat pumps. How are you tying water heaters into that network? How are you looking to HVAC contractors to install these? How's that looking for y'all?
So that's one thing that's unique about a heat pump water heater, whether it's LG or somebody else. These can be installed by an HVAC contractor or a plumbing contractor, because they really are a marriage between water heating and air conditioning, right? I told you it's a traditional water heater and then like a half-ton air conditioning unit sitting on top of it. So either contractor can install it, a homeowner can install it as well. And the only thing you need to know is you need a 30 amp breaker, and it does pull 3.1 amps. So that's important to note. And you need to run a condensate line, because just like your air conditioning unit, it is going to pull moisture from the air and it's going to condensate. So you will have some liquid come off of that unit. So it has to have a drain source of some sort. And that's kind of what makes this unique. I also think it's important talking about that the unit itself, if anything goes wrong with the heat pump or the motor, we replace the entire unit. On the flip side, if it's something like the heating elements, those change out just like a standard electric water heater would. So again, I don't want anyone to be scared about this technology. It's a really great piece of equipment and fairly easy to install.
Great. Okay. So yeah, I mean, right. It's like, as you said, it's like a heat pump, or it's like a AC put on an electric water heater. Both are standard technologies. Nothing to be afraid of. I guess my other follow-up question on this: have you seen some of these HVAC contractors really embrace water heating as like a new heat pump form? Have you heard folks getting excited about that?
I have, and along those same lines, because it's a good-looking water heater, we even have some appliance distributors who carry this. So you could buy your washer, your dryer, and your water heater from them. We've seen our HVAC contractors install them and like them, because it makes sense for them to check out your water heater when they're doing your annual review of the air conditioning system, right? They could different contactors and capacitors. They could check your water heater, make sure your filter's clean, make sure your heating elements are taken care of. So really, it works for both your plumbing side of the business as well as HVAC, to be able to install it as well as service it after the fact.
Cool. Okay. So the LG heat pump water heater has been out for a couple of years now. What's been your experience? How's the market accepted the product, and what have been your learnings so far?
I think that one of the things that people really can't believe is that it's a water heater. That's number one. Everyone still says, like, if I have this at a trade show, people will always go, "What is that? Is that an appliance?" And I'm like, "No, that's a water heater." The people who like it love it. There's no kind of lukewarm homeowners. They love it. They love to be able to control it with the ThinQ app. They like the fact it's so quiet. a lot of people will put this in their garage and take their friends out to look at it and go, wait till you see my water heater, right? And it's so quiet that they can stand in front of it and still talk. So we're doing that, but I still think at the end of the day, it's new. Kind of when the heat pump ductless came out and people weren't used to having the cartridges in their house, right? Hanging from their ceiling, that sort of thing. It's still new, but the different rebates, whether it's the IRA tax credit or it's a utility rebate, all of those things are really driving people to install it maybe before they would. And when they install it, they love it. They really, really do.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. The ductless heat pumps, right? 10 years ago, those were like, what? What are these things? Right. I mean, we see them in Europe, but we never see them here. But now they're super common and everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, how about LG's plans, for the future? We do see a lot of driving forces towards heat pump water heaters. How do you see the market shaping up over the next couple of years, and what are your plans?
Well, I see. I'm not sure with our current political administration where we're going to go. 2030, we were supposed to have heat pump water heaters replace traditional electric water heaters across the country. Right now, that's the case on the West Coast in a lot of instances, but it hasn't really moved across the rest of the states. So I think we'll see more and more adoption of the heat pump water heater. And then I would also look for LG to release some additional water heating products. I don't know what those look like. I don't know if that'll be tankless. I don't know if we're going to do a traditional like split heat pump where you have an external component and then an internal storage tank. I mean, we are limitless as far as what we can do. We're always advancing technologies. But at the end of the day, we also love our customers. And if our customers tell us we need to invent something, we typically will do that. So, Joe, if you have any suggestions for how LG can get better, you let me know.
Well, I think that was a great list you had there. I think the split heat pump water heaters, we hear a lot of buzz about that, and with LG's background in the heat pumps, the ductless heat pumps, it could make a lot of sense. Sometimes having that heat pump in a small space where there's not enough air, for it to exhaust and it cools the room down too much. Yeah, split heat pump could be really a good product, but I guess we'll have to see how the market shapes up. So
exactly.
Cool.
So who knows?
Yeah, well, that's exciting, Renee. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on Heat Pumps and Cardigans and talking to us about LG's water heater and other heat pump products. There's a lot of really great products there. And geez, it looks so nice. Such a good looking product. So thanks for the great work, and really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day with your heat pump and your cardigans, Joe.
Thanks, you too. All right.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.